Okay, so in this video, I'm going to teach you how to train like Batman. All right, so the whole goal of training like Batman is to build an all-around physique. All right, as you guys know, Batman can basically do it all, right? He's extremely strong, he has a good-looking physique, and he's really athletic, right? If you need Batman to run all the way over here, he can do it, right? He's not just gonna, you know, be out of breath in like 2 seconds when running. All right, so he can run as long as he really wants, right? He's insanely fast, he's insanely strong, and he has a good looking physique. All right. So to attain this physique, you need to be focusing on building strength, athleticism, and aesthetics. All right. And in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to do this. All right. So before we even get to how to do this, I'm gonna go ahead and plug my, my course, top link in the description. All right. Basically, that's where the workout plan is gonna be at. All right, because I don't know how your schedule is, so I'm not gonna just give you guys a workout plan in this video. All right. If you go click top link in the description, you guys join the course. I have a full. It's called the Dark Knight Method. It's called the Bat Cave, and I have a full blueprint on how to, do this. All right, how to build body like Batman, all around physique. Okay, so if you don't learn more, click top link in the description. I do have a personalized plan in there for you once you join. All right, let's continue on. So the first thing we're gonna be focusing on is strength. All right, strength is gonna be the foundation. All right, without strength, you can't really do nothing. Okay, that's why I call it the foundation. Okay, without strength, you're not gonna be insanely athletic. Without strength, you're not gonna be aesthetic, right? You can't build a aesthetic physique without strength. Okay, all the people with good aesthetic physiques, they have strength. All right, you can't just neglect strength. Okay, strength is the key principle to building an all-around physique like Batman. All right, so the way you can do this is you're gonna be focusing on getting stronger each session. Okay, so what you can do to get stronger each session is to focus on compound lifts. All right, so what to do for compound lifts? As you can see, this little picture right here, this is the example of a compound lift. Now, of course, he's being a little extra, putting these tires on there because Batman's just an extra human being sometimes, but that's okay because he's rich, all right, and he has a good physique. So we're not going to clown him for that. So compound lifts are going to basically be bench presses, deadlifts, pull-ups, squats, anything that's working out multiple muscle groups at once. All right, so there's plenty of compound lifts you can do out there. This is going to be the main thing that's going to get you stronger in the gym, especially when you first start out. Okay, once you first start out, you need to focus on compound lifts. All right, because without compound lifts, you're not going to be able to build all-around strength. Okay. Now, if you only focus on compound lifts, you're not going to be able to get the other things like building an aesthetic physique. You're not going to be able to build athletic physique. But I mean, nah, you can really build athletic physique with compound lifts, but especially when you're first starting out, you need to be prioritizing compound lifts because this is where your strength's going to come into play. So you need to be doing your dips, you need to be doing your bench press, you need to be doing your pull-ups. Okay, you need to be doing these things so you can build strength in other areas. Okay, you don't want to just start going to the gym and focus on one muscle group at a time. So you don't want to be isolating your muscles, right? If you do this, you will grow some muscles in those certain areas, but there's just no point of doing it because it's just going to lead to weird muscle imbalances. And it's just going to look weird. You're not going to be as strong as the person who's, prioritizing the compound lifts when they're first starting out. So start by prioritizing compound lifts. Okay. The reason why it's good is because, it hits multiple muscle groups at once and it gets you stronger overall. Next is going to be progressive overload. So there's plenty of examples of progressive overload. All right, a lot of people are going to say focus on getting stronger all the time. That's the main goal. Focus on getting stronger every single week, every single session. There's some people were going to say put more weight for progressive overload. Some people are going to say do more reps. But for me, the best way to do progressive overload is to just have better form. Okay, have better form when you're doing progressive overload. All right, because the reason why you want to have better form is because whenever you have good form, you're not going to be ego lifting. All right, the big issue with a lot of the way people do progressive overload is they ego lift. Okay, when you ego lift, you're not going to be hitting the muscles as well as you want to. For me, for example, when I first started lifting weights, I was ego lifting like crazy. So if I was doing a bench press, I would just focus on lifting the weight up. I wouldn't care about feeling the muscle getting hit at all. I wouldn't feel the muscle getting activated, right? I wouldn't feel the chest working. I would just feel, now I would just be focused on getting the weight up, right? So you don't want to do that because whenever I was doing that, I built a very strong arm dominant physique from just doing that. So my chest wasn't as big as my arms were. My arms are still bigger than my chest right now, but now they're starting to catch my chest starting to catch up a little bit. But before it was bad, right? It was bad. I had these huge arms, shoulders, but I had like this little chest because I just wasn't properly activating the muscle. Okay. Now, of course, some people can get away with it depending on the genetics, but most people you need to feel all the muscles to get them hit. All right, and for me, the chest wasn't getting hit whenever I was doing progressive overload with bad form. So what you want to do is you want to do progressive overload with perfect form. Basically, that's what we're going to be progressive overloading into. So you can do this by taking videos of yourself. You can do this by just feeling how well the muscles getting activated. And this is the main thing you want to focus on when you're first starting out, especially. So do that in compound lifts, and you will make a lot of progress. Then once you get really good form, like your form is good, that's when you start putting the weight up. All right, you put the weight up, you try to get more reps in, and that's how you're going to properly progressive overload. All right. And by the way, if you don't know the properly progressive overload, or if you don't know what progressive overload is, for example, it's basically just to get stronger every single week. So maybe one week you bench press for 135 pounds and for like 8 reps, and then the next week you're gonna try bench pressing 135 again, but for 9 reps. And if you get 9 reps, you got stronger. That's basically the whole goal and whole point of progressive overload. All right. Next, we're going to be focusing on athleticism. All right, Batman is very athletic. All right, I think this is the main thing people just ignore, right? A lot of people just ignore athleticism. They focus on strength, or they might focus on aesthetics, but or maybe they only focus on athleticism. But this is doing all three. But this is the main thing people ignore. Like most of these bodybuilders, they don't care about the functional strength. They don't care about the athleticism part of it. So how you're going to get athleticism is you're going to be focusing on your speed, endurance, your coordination, and your durability. All right. So for speed, you can do things like sprints. Okay. Sprints is really good for speed. Endurance, you can do long distance running, but sprints works too for this too. Sprints works too for this too. Okay. Let's try that again. Sprints work well for this too. All right, coordination, stretching is really good for this. All right, because you ever seen some big tall guy who's just very uncoordinated, right? And then you've seen some big tall guy that's very coordinated. The difference is one's focused on athleticism and stretching, the other one's not. All right, so make sure you are stretching. All right, that's going to really help with your coordination. Next is durability. This is just going to be overall, your strength. And you can do this by just continuing to do sprints. You can do long distance running. You can play sports. Okay. Now, I recommend you play a sport to build athleticism, right? That's the easiest way to build athleticism. There's other ways to do it, right? You can focus on just doing sprints and plyometrics, but I recommend you just find a sport you enjoy. So for me, it was basketball. I really enjoyed playing basketball when I was younger, so I picked it back up 2 years ago, and I really started playing a lot of basketball. Okay, and this helped me get athletic, right? This helped me build my athleticism. So if you want to build athleticism, play a sport. If you want to be more like Batman, I recommend you do martial arts because you're gonna, Batman is a fighter, so you can build those fighting skills up if you do martial arts, and it will make you athletic too if you do martial arts because it's gonna train your endurance, your stamina. It's the same thing, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? But I do recommend you just play a sport, okay? And whenever you play a sport, you're going to realize that you're going to want to get better and better and better at the sport if you actually enjoy it. So for me, I was really bad at basketball. I was unathletic. So what I was doing on my free time is I was doing plyometrics and, workouts that would strengthen my legs. So I would do sprints on my off time. I would do these leg workouts that got me stronger. I would do box jumps just so I can be more athletic. So whenever you're playing these sports, not only are you just going to get athletic from just playing it, like getting better stamina, but you're also going to be more motivated to focus on getting better at the sport. And the more you play the sport, the more athletic you're going to get. All right. So that's my method for being athletic. All right. Don't sit there and do 30 minutes on the treadmill for every single day because that's not sustainable. It's not fun. It's not, it's no point of doing it if you can just play a sport. Next thing we're going to focus on is aesthetics. Okay, so Batman is very aesthetic, as you can see from this back. That's a crazy aesthetic back right here. All right, if you want to take it the next step further, once you get this physique, you can add some, markers or like a little pen and get these fake scratches, and you can add some band-aids to it too, just for the aesthetic of things, right? And right here, this is how you're going to build this aesthetic physique. So this is the fun part. So first we are focusing on the strength, but now we're going to focus on the aesthetics. So basically what you do is you start every lift or every gym workout with a compound lift. So this is whenever you're going to do your bench presses, your pull-ups, your compound lift movements. But once you're done with all that, you can move into the aesthetic workout. So you can, let's say you're doing a pull day, right? So you start with Now we're gonna say push day. I like doing push days. Let's say you're doing a push day, right? You might start with bench press, and you might do, yeah, we're gonna say bench press. That's easy. And then you hit your triceps and shoulders at the very end of the workout, just isolating it. Okay. If you do that, that's how you can build an aesthetic physique. But or you can just have a day dedicated to just building an aesthetic physique. So you go in there after you already finish your compound lifts the other days, and you just focus on building all the aesthetic muscles. Okay. So the aesthetic muscles you want to focus on is going to be upper chest, your side delts, and your lats. Okay, these are like the key three things that's going to get you that wider frame. It's going to get you that V taper, because ultimately, to get a good aesthetic physique, you need to build a V taper. Okay, so these three things is what's going to get you the V taper, the upper chest, the side delts, and the lats. Okay, everything else is going to be extra stuff that's just like the cherry on top. But the main things you want to focus on is the lats, the side delts, and upper chest. Okay, this is what's going to get you that wide frame. It's going to get you that V taper. Now we have the abs. So whenever you take your shirt off, the abs is going to be the main thing that people see, right? If you don't have developed abs, don't take your shirt off, okay? Unless you just don't care. But for aesthetic physique, having good abs is essential. All right, it's crucial. Now the upper back, this is what's going to make your back look more like a demon back. It's going to look more like an anime back. It's going to look like this when you focus on the upper back right here. Okay. And you can do like rows for the upper back, or you can do wide grip pull ups. The traps, you can do this. Well, actually, we're going to go into the traps in just a second. We're going to skip to the traps. We're going to do biceps. So, biceps, everyone knows biceps is a very aesthetic muscle. Okay. Building big biceps, big forearms, that's the key. Not the key, but that's like a big part of just building aesthetic physique. Now, for the traps and necks thing, okay, so building good traps and a good neck, this is going to give you a more yoked look physique, okay? So whenever you're wearing a shirt, people are going to think you're more yoked, you're more jacked, you're more bigger by just having big traps and neck. And a common misconception with traps is that people think traps make you look narrow, okay? They think they make you look narrow. If you get big traps, you're going to look more narrow. All right, that's not true at all. Here's the example of someone with underdeveloped shoulders and overdeveloped traps. Okay, so as you guys can see, he has these strong trap muscles, but look at his shoulders. I mean, his shoulders are seriously lacking right here. Right, they're seriously lacking. Right, there's like a little definition here, but compared to his abs, compared to his chest, right, it's just non-existent. So if you get bigger shoulders, you won't have this issue. Okay. Now here's a guy who says this tries to make it look narrow, and he has really good shoulders, right? His shoulders are very developed, but his traps are seriously like you can't even see his traps. They are seriously underdeveloped. You can't even see these traps right here. Like, are you serious? This is his traps right here. I mean, that's an absolute joke. Okay. Now he does have a good impressive physique, but I'm just saying, like, the traps, it just looks weird. Okay. So this is someone with good developed traps and developed shoulders. So whenever you properly develop your traps and shoulders at the same time, it's going to actually come and look really good. Okay, so this is really good shoulder width and really good traps and neck. And this looks a lot better than this does. Okay, this dude looks like a Roblox character. This dude actually looks like a human. You know what I mean? So develop your traps and shoulders at the same time, and you won't have this issue right here. Okay, this isn't that bad compared to this, but you won't have that issue as long as you're developing your shoulders. All right, just keep developing your shoulders and develop your traps at the same time, and you're gonna have a really good, nice looking physique. Now, for recovery, this is where like the muscle growth gets built. Okay, now Batman himself, he's not a big recovery guy. Okay, he doesn't sleep at all, pretty much. So, of course, that's not how it actually works in real life. So you can't just not sleep at all and expect to recover just because Batman does it. Batman is just different. All right, we're not Batman. We're just trying to build a physique like Batman. Okay. So how you can properly recover is you can sleep. Okay, sleep is the most important thing for recovery. So what you need to be doing is you need to be going to bed. You need to be in bed for 10 hours, right? You need to be in bed for 10 hours. You need to be sleeping for as long as possible, because whenever you go to bed, you're not going to be sleeping for 10 hours straight. Even if you're in bed for 10 hours, you're not going to fall asleep as soon as you fall into bed, right? It's just not how it works, right? So you might be asleep for like 8 or 9 of those actual hours, but you're not going to actually be asleep the whole 10 hours when you're in there. So that's why people, when they say they're in bed for 8 hours, they're really getting like 6 to 7 hours of sleep. They're not actually getting 8. Okay. Diet, the main focus for diet is to just get a lot of protein. Okay. So focus on getting protein. That's where the muscles are going to recover, right? Sleep is going to do the protein, the muscle protein synthesis. Diet is going to, build the muscle stronger, and it's going to help recover it better because of the protein. All right. It needs protein. And also do carbs, get some carbs in your diet too. It's going to help you get some energy for your workouts. So what I recommend is you eat a little bit of carbs right before your workout, and you eat a little bit of carbs after your workout. My favorite type of carbs to eat is just fruit and honey. Okay. And then some other tips or some other extras for recovery is going to be heat plus cold exposure and swimming. Okay. So for heat plus cold exposure, this is going to give you a lot of benefits from just the hot and the cold, right? So, for example, you can do a sauna. You hop in the sauna for like 10 minutes, then you go do a cold plunge for a few minutes, and you just swap back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Or what you can do is you can do a contrast shower where you make the water hot for like a minute, then you make it cold for a minute. You just swap back and forth like 3 to 4 times. And when you do this, your muscle are going to be recovering a lot better, and you're not going to feel as sore the next day. And when you don't feel as sore the next day, your muscles are going to be more fresh. And who doesn't want to have fresh muscles, right? You don't want to do a workout with sore muscles. This is not a fun experience. Okay, now swimming is actually a little bit better in my opinion than heat plus cold exposure, but not everyone has access to a swimming pool. But if you do have access to a swimming pool, this is the best thing you can do for recovery other than diet and sleep. So the reason why swimming is so good is because you're just swimming, you're getting the muscles activated, you're getting the blood flow coming through. And swimming is very good for supporting the joints and supporting recovery. So if you just do like a quick 10-minute swim right after your lift, you're not gonna feel sore. Even after the swim, you're not gonna feel sore at all. I promise you. Okay. So definitely do swimming. All right, and if you made this far in the video, make sure you guys follow my Twitter. All right, Julian Ryan 51947. Okay, this is if you want to learn more about me, I do daily posts on Twitter and I reply to people all the time. So if you have any questions, you guys can follow me on here and I'll get back to you. All right, I'm trying to grow this. I just created it like a month ago, so support that. Now, the final thing we're going to be talking about is some extras. So the final thing we're going to talk about for this video is if you want to be more like Batman, right? This has nothing to do with the physique, but this is some stuff you can certainly do. So I'm out of breath right now. I'm not gonna lie. I've been talking really fast this video. But some things you can do is you can listen to this song right here called Golden Eye 64 Watch. Right? Listen to this video and you're gonna listen to this song and just put it on repeat. You're gonna feel like Batman. All right. This song makes me feel like I'm on a mission. It makes me feel like I'm Batman. All right. Next, you want to get yourself a shirt like this. All right. Because you got to have your bat suit, right? You see this right here? You want to be looking like this. So this is going to be your bat suit right here. And the goal is to get like a size up and you just grow into it. That's going to be your goal when doing this Batman physique. And finally, we have the car. So if you're above the age of 16, try to get your hands on like a all black Mustang. All right. This is going to be like the best for Batman aesthetic, right? Now, I don't have this because I just don't have the money. But if you have the money, definitely try to get your hands on one of these and you're going to look really good. You're going to look really close to Batman. All right. So that is the video for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. All right. If you found this video valuable, join this program right here. All right, if you're interested, you can DM me and I can get a personalized plan for you. And like I said, this is focusing on building strength, athleticism, and aesthetics. We did all that in this video. Strength is the foundation. Athleticism, you need athleticism. And aesthetics makes the physique look better. So get all three of these things. All right, focus on all three of these things. Don't focus on just one because a lot of people just think they should focus on just one. And yeah, if you found this video valuable, drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, hope you enjoy.